Hello, everyone. Jim Coventry from RotoWire here. First, before we get started here, due to Sunday's 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time London game between the Vikings and the Saints, I'll be moving the Week 4 start-sit live stream to Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. The link is pinned on my Twitter at Jim Coventry NFL. If you haven't been part of my live stream start and sit, I not only give you the answer to your question of who to start, I give you the reason why so you can make your own optimal decision with a little bit of input from me. All right, here are the top 5 NFC fantasy football trends of the week. Number 5, Christian McCaffrey, strong RB1 so far, but where's the upside? Remember last year, and the selling point on McCaffrey in this year's drafts was that in the games he played, I believe it was at least 40 snaps, he had at least 23.3 fantasy points in each of those games. So when he played, he had elite upside. And he does have 2 straight 100-yard games. But his PPR points, 15.7, 16.8, and 13.5. Certainly a running back one this year because it's been a minefield. But fantasy managers are expecting probably 25 points a game, most games from McCaffrey, and he hasn't even hit 17 yet. And the big problem is the receiving work. We know he gets rushing yards, but he cleans up as a receiver. In 3 games, just 10 catches for 57 yards. So not even 6 yards a catch. That is not the Christian McCaffrey we're used to seeing. Now, a combination of Baker Mayfield, maybe not getting the ball optimally, play design, and McCaffrey's got the 100-yard games, and he's had a couple big runs. I still think there's just a little bit of electric that's missing from what we've seen that made him a legendary player when he was on the field as late as last year for a few games. That said, he's still an RB1, so you're happy about that. He did pop up in the injury report today. Hopefully that's something minor, a maintenance day, which would be smart for the team to give him those. I mean, Panthers run a low-volume offense. They play defensive-style games. And offensively, McCaffrey's going to have to deal with the fact that Baker Mayfield isn't going to bring any fear from the defense. Defense are already blitzing him. They already don't respect the pass. So we've got a real problem there. I think Christian McCaffrey, again, as long RB1, good. I just don't think he's the elite player he is. So that said, you take it, you move on. All right. The fantasy football trend number 4, Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is one of the most dynamic receivers we've ever seen, but we haven't seen that receiving production now in 2 seasons, last year and 3 games this year. Alvin Kamara has 11 targets in the 2 games he's played. He's caught 5 of them, less than half. His yardage, 19 yards. Catch rate, less than 50%. 4 yards a catch, a little less than that. The problem, first of all, Sean Payton's gone. And Sean Payton was so clever in the design of the screen game. Always found clever ways to get Kamara out into space. And then 2 years ago and prior, he had Drew Brees. And Drew Brees was a master of the screen pass, one of the best screen pass quarterbacks of this generation. And that was a great combination. Jameis Winston last year, Kamara had some fair receiving numbers, but Winston isn't your guy when you're looking to develop a really sharp screen game. And so that's a little bit problematic. And Alvin Kamara in his 2 games, his PPR points, 7.6 and 9.3. And people had moved him way up their draft boards after it sounded like he was going to get disciplined this year, which he may not. But I don't think anybody was expecting single digits in his performance. Now, silver lining, last year he was 3.7 yards a carry, small sample size, 2 games, 4.2. Hopefully, he continues that pace. Full half yard better than last year. But look, the Saints, the team, I know they've had garbage time in 2 games, and they actually won 1 game because of garbage time, but they're not a very good team right now, especially on defense. And the big deal on their defense is their turnover at safety. That has been a massive, massive issue for them. It allowed them to do a lot of things defensively. And, Dennis Allen, his last go-around as head coach, not so hot. All right, Justin Jefferson. Well, he did blow up in week 1. We got that. Trent Green is a former NFL player and an analyst, and what he said was that Justin Jefferson isn't finishing his routes at the top. He's not reacting well to physical defenders. The thing that I noticed is we got sold a bill of goods that he would be in the slot very frequently. That hasn't happened as much as we thought. It's been more of a rarity. And keeping him on the outside, defenses have an easier time dealing with him. And if you truly want to weaponize your great receivers today, you put them in the slot 40+% of the time. And you try to even more, right? And you just get them those free releases, those easy mismatches. You make things easy for your team, not difficult. And Kirk Cousins, look, after week 1, he looks like he's struggling a bit. I know he brought them back against the Lions. Great. But he looks like he's struggling overall. Now, in week 2, we thought we had a Justin Jefferson floor game, 6 for 48. Okay, we can live with the floors. Philadelphia, great, 12 targets. Last week, 3 for 14 at 6 targets. And look, Jeff Okudah, great. High draft pick, beautiful. But Justin Jefferson is supposed to be one of the best receivers in the game, and we've seen him doing that. He's going to need a little help with the coaching. He's going to need a little help with getting the game plan designed to him, and that's going to be really important. All right, takeaway number 2, Romeo Doubs. So Sammy Watkins on the injured reserve, Christian Watson out. Doubs plays 89% of the snaps, catching all 8 of his targets for 73 yards and a touchdown. Now, there were buzz moments in the preseason. Came out week 1, week 2. He was just one of many. Most of the receivers were getting about 3 targets or so a game, and there was no clear player jumping out. But with those players out, Doubs was pressed into a prominent role. I have to think that he earned Aaron Rodgers' trust. And there was a quote where Rodgers talked about Doubs being able to win against man coverage. That's a very important element of Aaron Rodgers' games. If he can trust you to beat man coverage, he will throw you the ball and he will make you get the most out of your ability. Allen Lazard, very nice player, wins with physicality. It's not the same thing. If Doubs can legitimately win in man coverage, he is probably going to move up that food chain. And if your waivers haven't run yet this week, I think 30% is worth the possibility of him becoming the guy. Takeaway number 1, Saquon Barkley, at least 88 yards in each game. Already, he has PPR games of 22.6 and 31.4. Question out, is he the overall RB1? And right now, based on his numbers, very hard to argue that. And you know, his matchups haven't been super easy. He hasn't had like the easiest matchups in the world. Right now, he looks really, really good. He looks good as a receiver, looks even better as a runner, and an interior runner. That was in his career, the interior run game was not his specialty, but he looks really sharp right now. And if he can keep this going, my goodness, we are looking at, this beautiful season for him, and he may just be the RB1. All right, some quick hit thoughts, and then I'll get to questions at the end. So Kyler Murray hasn't reached 30 rushing yards in a game. So if you're counting on rushing upside for Murray, we know he didn't run as much last year, but without that rushing upside, the passing game is kind of problematic there. Kyler Murray is not an easy fantasy football starter quarterback. Is he a top 12 guy? Yes. Is he a top 5 guy? Not close. He has to have rushing production for that to happen, I think. Jalen Hurts, at least 333 yards and through the air, and he's accounted for 3 total touchdowns in his last 2 games. The offensive line is great. The run game is great. They have great receiving options. They've got Devontae Smith as a number 2 option, which really increases his ability to win. And Dallas Goedert's an excellent tight end. Wheels up on this offense. This offense is probably going to keep cooking for some time. Cam Akers, snap share has been up each week. 62 yards last week. I mean, in week 2, I should say, 61 and a touchdown last week. So is he back in the RB2 discussion? I think he is. I think that, Henderson's still getting about half the snaps, but Akers is getting work. Did Akers look phenomenal last week? No. He had a couple really good decisive runs in the second half, and I think that's what we're looking for. The offensive line's a mess, but it being an RB2 is about volume, and he's starting to get that volume now. Aaron Jones, look, the week 2 blowout was great, and it was after the coaching staff said that we need to get him involved. And then they come back last week, another meh performance. So right now, Aaron Jones, he had 47 yards on 14 touches against Tampa Bay. They're not consistently weaponizing him. I drafted him high in a few different leagues. Aaron Jones is an RB2, and that's about it. And he's pretty equal with A.J. Dillon in terms of, week-to-week fantasy production. I mean, obviously Jones has the spike potential, like the 32 points he had in week 2, but counting on every week, that's a tough sell. James Conner, 20 for 64 on the ground. But he's had 5 catches for 44 in his last 2 games. So he's getting usage. We like that. The offense is just a mess. Very problematic. DJ Moore, we thought those 2 43-yard games to open the season were floor performances. He comes out and he catches 1 pass for a couple of yards. He did chip in 13 yards on the ground, which helped as a runner. But again, we said earlier, Baker Mayfield's getting blitzed. Baker Mayfield does not do well under pressure. This passing game is going to be a real problem. We can get back excited about CeeDee Lamb, double-digit targets in his last 2 games with Cooper Rush. So it looks like they figured some things out. When Dak Prescott gets back, Lamb should realize that floor that many paid for on draft day. Sterling Shepard's out for the season. Richie James, averaging 5 catches, 49 yards, and 6 targets. When Richie James played sporadically with the 49ers, he was decent. He produced when he got the ball. He's getting an opportunity here. Kadarius Toney, between being hurt and maybe being in the doghouse, and Wan'Dale Robinson not getting on the field, Richie James could easily become part of the regular equation here. Does he have a super high ceiling? No, but he could be a floor play in deeper leagues. Could be a flex play, PPR leagues for sure. Kyle Pitts, 7 targets in week 1. Then week 2, he only had a couple targets, so we got really, really nervous. But at least he was back to 8 targets last week. He had a 5 for 87. Really didn't show up in the second half, but at least they showed they could get some use out of him. Are you watching on YouTube? Please smash the like and subscribe buttons. Appreciate you being here. Love the support. If you like our content, 2 days free behind the RotoWire paywall. No credit card needed, just an email address. Go to rotowire.com/try. All right, got a couple questions sitting here. All right. Traded Pearson Dortch for Fournette since you ever shot on his bench. Hopefully works out. You know what? Fournette's, obviously he's getting elite usage. Got to like that, right? And when the receivers come back, the defenses will play them completely differently. So not having an offensive line of great, blocking ability, I think Fournette's going to be great in the screen game, especially when they get Godwin back. But in the short term, they might get Evans back from suspension. Looks like Julio might play. So I think things are definitely looking up. And so, I think trading Pearson and Dortch is probably out of the job maybe this week, maybe next week for sure. Rondale Moore, it's his job. I don't think Rondale Moore is losing his job. I think they plan on using him well this year. So it was a great sell high on Dortch. The Joker, should you drop Claypool for Treylon Burks? Yes, I think so. Treylon Burks' role is going to grow each week, I think. May have like last week a little hiccup week here and there, but I think his role is going to grow. Chase Claypool right now, the offense limits him. It's not his fault. Chase Claypool is a dynamic, potential, producer, but it's not going to happen. I was going over his trends this week, and the yardage is just horrible. They're not getting anything out of him, and it's because of the quarterback play. So, I would do that. Oh, you also said you have Debo and Sutton. So Ben says. So, it's got to be Treylon Burks. That first-round draft capital is to get every chance. He's shown some flashes. He looked really good against Buffalo, getting open against their starters, so that was good. All right, Joker has another one. Should I hold on to the Chargers defense? You know what? Joey Bosa is going to be out a while. J.C. Jackson, I don't know what the deal with him is. Love the Chargers defense, but right now, defense are fickle as it is, right? Jacksonville's going to be better at home than on the road, although last week they played well, especially with the beat-up line of the Chargers. But you know what? At this point, why not? It's hard to tell Joey Bosa being out really hurts them a lot. And Jake, should you trade away Brady and Amon-Ra for Mixon, Allen Rob? No, can't do it. Mixon has been less than 3.5 yards a carry since the team went pass heavy in week 13 last season. He's like 3 yards a carry this season. The volume is he hasn't scored a touchdown. I think he scored a touchdown in 1 game since week 13 last year, since they went pass heavy. It's like he needs to be in a rhythm. When they were run heavy, he'd get in a rhythm, he'd do well. I don't think. And Robinson right now, I'm worried. He was great in camp. Figured he'd get acclimated from the beginning. He's a contested catch receiver. But it looks like Stafford's under pressure. He's going what he knows. And what he knows is Kupp and Higbee. Ayuk, love him as a player. I thought he'd do downfield damage with Trey Lance, but unfortunately that didn't work out. And Jimmy G, they did get the touchdown last week, but I don't trust Jimmy G in the passing attack. So, Brady's going to be fine. He won't be fine till they get all the receivers back. He can be fine at the line. All those guys can win quick. This week, though, if he gets Julio back, you got Julio, you got Evans. Gage showed signs of life last week. And Amon-Ra, you can't trade him right now. Could defenses figure out and decide to bracket him and take him away? They might. They could. But right now, it's really hard. He is like the ultimate sell high. And I get it. You're getting 3 functional players, but Robinson hasn't done anything, and Ayuk has a floor, and Mixon hasn't been great. So you know what? Nah, hang on to him. Henry, any hope for Mooney or Tony? Tony, it's hard to say. I don't know if he's out of favor with the team, and I know the injury is something to do, but I don't know if it's one of those things that don't really want him out there. I don't know what the deal is. I have bad vibes from what I saw in the offseason. He should have been flourishing in the offseason, getting ready with the team, and it didn't work. Mooney, so I'm going to keep rationalizing Mooney. So I'm heavily invested in, and I'm really not trying to make this. I'm trying to prove myself right. I'm not doing that here. But all right. So the first game was a monsoon. We throw that one out. Second game was the Packers, who have an amazing secondary all the way across, and the Bears didn't pass the ball against them. All right. I could write that one off. Last week, the Texans are the worst run defense in the league, and the Bears ran the ball down their throats, and they were in the game or leading the whole way. Therefore, Justin Fields didn't throw the ball. He has not had 18 attempts in a game this year. Now, the games where Mooney should do well, based on what I'm seeing here. Mooney had a great season last year. Mooney has not become a bad player. Justin Fields was part of Mooney doing well. He hasn't gotten worse as a quarterback. What I expect to happen is when the Bears are playing games where they're going to trail, but the opposing defense doesn't have a devastating pass rush or a great pass rush or a strong pass rush, which is a lot of teams. 2/3 of the teams don't have great pass rushes. When the Bears are in that game script, Mooney's going to be fine. You're going to have to judiciously choose when to put him in line. He's not an auto start. But there's a lot of weeks. If of the 14 games left, there are going to be at least 9 games where you're like, yep, putting him in and not thinking twice about it. But the last week game, again, it was all because Houston couldn't stop the run. All right, thanks, everyone. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk soon. Catch me at Jim Coventry NFL on Twitter. And hit the smash the like and subscribe buttons on the RotoWire site.